Hello everyone, we are at Inspiration Masters, and here we do special interviews on our inspiring series for the people who are the difference maker, the artist, and special people who are right in the middle of us and making a big difference in the lives of people. Today I have a great opportunity, and I'm welcoming here two co-founders of the Humanist Academy. To my right is Mr. Vijay. Prior to founding the Humanist Academy, Vijay has been no stranger to education. In addition to graduating from the University of Illinois at Chicago Honors Program, he has 2 master's degrees, one from the University of Chicago and the other in school leadership from National Louis University. Professionally, he has served the community as a high school history teacher, math teacher, assistant principal, and a language professor at Loyola University. And he has led the students on trips across the world with the National Geographic Student Expedition. So we'll be finding more about that. Along with that, he has spent 2 years in India studying philosophy and literature at the Vidyapith, an alternative residential institute in Mumbai. The experience continues to inspire and guide his educational services. He currently serves as both the director and the lead elementary guide at the Humanist Academy in Irving. Welcome, Vijay.
Thank you.
Also to my right is Dr. J. Shah. He is the co-founder and chairman of the Humanist Academy, also the brother of Vijay. In addition to being a loving husband and a father of 2 boys, he is an assistant professor of orthopedic surgery at the UT Southwestern. He has a depth of experience, including his research at the Mayo Clinic, working with the world-renowned surgeon Dr. James Andrews during his residency, completing a sports medicine fellowship as a team physician for the Houston Rockets and Astros, and he's a very successful professional. Along with that, his true passion lies in education. He's a co-founder of Humanist Academy. He has contributed a significant amount of his time, energy, and resources to education. He brings learner-driven Socratic approaches to education while teaching medical students and residents at UT Southwestern. He draws inspiration from 2-year postgrad course in philosophy and literature at the Vidyapith in India, which he completed in 2004. Welcome, Dr. J, to the program.
Thank you.
So I have a great privilege to have you both here, and we have something which we want to know. Humanist Academy is such a special institution, and if you can tell us more about it, what is it and how is it different?
So it kind of turns learning upside down is the term that Laura and Jeff Sandifer like to say. So they started Acton Academy in Austin, and we were inspired by them to start this model. And it's very innovative, very unique, and it's not like anything you would see at a traditional school. Instead of having students sitting in rows and at desks, for 6 to 8 hours a day, our students are exploring, they're experimenting, they're doing hands-on learning. They're not just doing project-based learning, but they're doing what's called a quest, which is a project with a narrative. You're not just studying the human body, but you're a resident, and for the next 4 weeks, you study body systems, and you're to apply for a fellowship. You have to present a monologue as if you're an organ of the body in front of the community. We don't have grades, we don't have report cards, we don't have teachers, we don't focus on standardized testing. The whole point is that our studios, which is what we like to call them instead of classrooms, are there so that our innate ability to be curious and to learn and to explore, learn about the world is fostered, and we don't have teachers. Instead, we have Socratic guides, and their job is to ask questions that provoke and inspire our heroes to learn.
Wow.
So if you think about when you learn the best, You learn when you discover things on your own.
That's right, yes.
Instead of being taught. When the teacher told you that 2 plus 2 is 4, it probably took you 3 or 4 times before you really understood what 2 plus 2 equals 4 means, right? So when he says turning learning upside down, instead of being taught, we're letting the students take control of their own education. Learn at their own pace and discover and, come across things on their own with their own experience.
That sounds very interesting because it's so different. So how does your typical classroom look like? How do they start, and what does it look like when the kids enter, and how does it work on a daily basis?
So, we start, the school hours are pretty similar. School starts at 8, it ends at 3:15. They have a bit amount of free time, more than regular classes, so 8 to 8:30 they have free time. At 8:30 we start every morning with a morning launch, and that's something usually that we can emphasize different values, gratitude, curiosity, integrity, diligence. The current value for this session, which is 6 weeks, is courage. So we'll find different stories of courage that are inspiring and present them to the students. And then every morning launch has what we like to call a Socratic discussion. So we believe very much that clear thinking leads to better decision making, leads to better choices, better actions, better habits, and those habits shape your character and essentially shape your destiny. And so those Socratic discussions allow them to hear each other's perspective. So we do those multiple times a day. Then we spend 2 to 2.5 hours on core skills. So they're doing their math, their reading, their writing, their language skills, and that can either be in a Montessori setting for our younger students, or in a more digital and technology-based classroom, where we have what's called self-paced or personalized learning. So you're not in a classroom with 30, 25 other students your same age learning the same stuff, waiting on a teacher to teach it to you. Instead, you have all these, a wealth of knowledge is at your fingertips. And so you can learn at your own pace, and we've found that our students are 2.5 grade levels ahead because they're not being held back. So that's core skills time. Then usually we have quest time throughout the day where they're working on their projects. Every quest is aligned to a question of the year. So like this year it's, what does it mean to be powerful? And does it have to do with having money, having relationships, or intelligence? And these are different questions that we're asking, Socratic questions that we're all seeking answers to. And in that, then we design different quests based on that, these projects. So we had a children's business fair, which was, the quest was an entrepreneurship quest. And so that would be something that they would spend an hour and a half to 2 hours, an hour and a half or so after in the afternoon working on. We also have, DEAR, where they're reading, drop everything and read. There's civilization, there's PE, there's art. So those things kind of fill their day throughout.
Wow, that sounds very interesting, because it's the questions which they get, the quest, that is the real learning that happens at that point of time. Wow, that is so interesting. I like that idea that they would be asked and they would be intrigued with the question, and then you can go and expand upon it. So you mentioned that they also went for a fair, that they created the whole program. That is interesting.
Each student came up with their own business idea, and then at the fair they would sell their product, service, whatever it may be.
Right. Yeah. So that's a hands-on learning along with the quest.
They were actually entrepreneurs for the day. They got to experience what it's like to have your own business, and it was ages from 5 to 12. One of our 5-year-olds had his own Bombay sandwich shop, and the fair was around lunchtime, and he made a killing. And it's just amazing, as an adult even, there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I could be an entrepreneur.
That's right,
and at an early age, they've already gone through that experience. They studied markets, they studied unit economics, sunk cost, variable cost, fixed cost. They did all these, they studied it all, and then it all came together.
No, that's very interesting, because the application is ultimately, that's the real part of the knowledge, right? How you apply it and how you do it. That's really good. So what, it's different, as you said, and you mentioned how the day works. what are the kind of outcomes you're looking for? Because as we see that the models of the schools have been changing, and you saw so many models, and this is very specific, and as you said, Socratic learning model. What is it? What kind of outcomes are you looking for?
So if you think about traditional education, you're looking for test scores, you're looking for
Yes,
admission into colleges, or this or that tangible thing. And if you think about when we went through school, we tried to get a grade on a test,
Right.
by hook or by crook. No matter
Right.
what we had to do, study the night before, cram,
Jam it down,
read
cram
other-
it down.
jam it down, cram it down, read other people's notes.
Right.
Finally do the homework ourselves if we had to before
Yeah.
the test. And
Uh-huh.
that's not really what we're looking for. We're
Yeah.
looking for true love of learning.
Uh-huh.
We believe that every child that walks into our doors is truly a genius,
All right.
and they have the ability to find their own calling.
Right.
And so we want them to find their own calling and find their own journey through this through the Humanist Academy or the Acton Academy processes.
Right.
And so that's what we're really looking for. We're looking to equip these students to find a passion,
Uh-huh.
find their calling, and to change the world.
Right, not just get something out and then try to apply it, but
Yeah.
actually find out
Yeah.
what you really need and then.
And I think what that does is that fosters that love of learning from the
Uh-huh.
beginning.
Right.
And then if you notice what Vijay was talking about earlier,
Uh-huh.
our students are testing regularly 2-3 grade levels above where
Right.
they're at. And it's
Right.
because they love to learn. They want to learn for learning's sake as opposed to learn to, memorize and cram.
It's
for
not to
tests
show
and get an A.
somebody,
Exactly.
but to prove to self that this is what I love to
Exactly.
do and this is what I want to do in the future. That's such a great concept. So since you've started, and how long you started this process?
Yeah, so it was November 2015 when the idea of this Acton Academy in Austin, which is our affiliate and our one of our inspirations, when we heard about them. Our first school year was last school year, August 2016, and this is our second year that we're in. So we're still growing.
Right.
We're learning. It's an amazing, a marvelous experiment that we're a part of. But it's so cool to see students just their eyes light up and how excited they are to be at school.
Uh-huh.
They don't usually want to go home on the
That's
weekends.
right. So it's time to
very
go home.
great, yeah, and I've never seen that
Yeah.
that much excitement before.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So can you share us some of the successes you've seen in the process, and seen what is it that you've seen which is so unique, which you are happy to share?
Yeah, so, and when you were talking about the outcomes earlier, it's so hard as an educator who's trying to be a sincere educator to pinpoint or focus on a specific outcome. We're a very result-driven society, and sometimes we forget the journey.
Right.
It's so amazing to see, a student who, we don't like to use the word student, we call them heroes,
Uh-huh.
but like a hero who had come in the beginning of the year, who has generally just had a negative tone and demeanor about things. Oh, how's everything going? It's terrible, and to see a shift in a few months because of the environment, because of the ownership of learning, the excitement and the fun, that, things are just awesome.
That's right.
To shift the mindset. And the student themselves, so we do reflection all the time. So what did you learn from this? So instead of tests, and we have different ways of checking mastery, but instead of report cards, we have exhibitions. And so we'll reflect after the exhibition, what was your biggest learning lesson? Where did you do well? What can you do better? And for them to share, at the end of a session that I realized I used to get angry a lot for really little things. And for them to share that and to see that they're improving their character.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
We've had, we don't talk that much, we don't focus, our outcomes aren't academically driven. It's bigger than that. But like we had a student last year, a couple of them, one came in as what's the equivalent of second grade, and she could barely read. And within 3 months, she was reading chapter books. She wrote like a 4-paragraph book review, and that was just because of the environment.
Wow.
We had another student who completed all of second grade math within a month, and third grade math within 4 months or so. And it was, it was so cool to see that he was at an environment where he wasn't held back, but he could take ownership of his learning.
Wow.
So there's countless examples. I mean, every single hero has a story, and it's an incredible.
But I like that idea that you're not focused on too, because life is a journey. So you're not chopping into pieces and say, hey, this is point A to point B and this piece, but actually how the habits are being formed.
Another success that he can probably expand upon is conflict resolution, right? And so remember, we said we don't have teachers, so they don't handle any of the problems that the students occur, whether it be amongst themselves, whether it be with something that they're struggling with academically. We don't. The guides don't answer questions, and they don't help them with anything. And so one of the things that they do really well is conflict resolution. So if you think about it in the future, like in an office setting or in their job, wherever they may go, they're going to have various other conflicts and things that happen, and they're going to need to resolve them. They're getting the skills and the environment and the tools to deal with that in a positive way, right from the beginning, from 5 years old. So give an example of it.
We just literally, like last week, one of the parents, a couple of weeks ago, one of the parents came in and was talking about her son, and before he was enrolled, he used to get into fights, into conflict on the playground all the time. And now all of a sudden, when the other kids are getting into fights, he's stopping them and making them talk it out and do all right, what happened? What's your side of the story? All right, what's your side? And try to find a resolution. Because they have their own town hall meetings. They have their own council that forms, that helps resolve issues. And so other than a safety, a physical harm, or a very dishonesty is something we hold very true. Other than something extremely egregious, we like the students to learn to build that character and that resolve to solve their own problems, and not seek somebody else to come in and handle it for them.
Right. Yeah, that's true, because they have to solve their problems. Yeah, that's very interesting part. And going forward, because since you mentioned that it's a newer concept, it is great and it's working great. But since it's new, what is it that you see as challenges going forward, and what are your plans for the future?
So it is really challenging, for parents to. So what was really revolutionary or innovative about Montessori was that she put so much faith in the child to be in an environment, create an environment where they could explore and just take ownership of their learning, which is a lot of what we do. And what we do with this, what Jeff and Laura Sandifer and what we do with this model is it takes that to a whole nother level. They've written their own studio contract of promises. We hold them accountable, and it gets really challenging putting so much faith in the children, but they were meant for a higher purpose. We believe they're a spiritual being. Every human being has a higher purpose, is a spiritual being, and has something great that they were meant for. And to provide that environment and allow them to go through struggle and to have the tools and to overcome those conflicts, that can be challenging for parents. I think there's a lot of parents out there that also, like when we look for families, we look for people with the same type of values, and for people who are willing to trust their child on this, this journey.
That's very interesting.
So that gets difficult.
They have to do that.
Also, providing a diverse community for the students so that they can learn from each other, they can appreciate other cultures, and be, the truest human beings they can be. Also, providing this, we don't like charging fees. We wish we could make this, completely free and available for everybody. But obviously, we're a nonprofit school. Our fees are about half of what any other private school is. And so, we really we want to make a very diverse environment for our students.
Because everybody understands sustainability. It's a necessity that anything which you provide has to have some value. So that is always there. So it's so interesting that you shared all the stories. And if you want to share something with our viewers, what is it that you would like to share and say something about the special approach, and what is it that they can do and how they can get more information about you?
I mean, I think if I say anything to the viewers, is that trust your children. When you trust and put faith in children, they're capable of far greater things than we've ever imagined. That's
awesome word, and I am so privileged to have you here and to hear the great story. So that's everyone who is inspired. It's not just that it's a school, but it is so special place, the way you describe Vijay, and I think I could get an admission in there, which is which probably I might not get. But
they would have to vote you in.
Yeah, and they might vote me out. So thank you so much for taking the time and meeting us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And on behalf of the team at Inspiration Masters, we wish you all the best for everything you take up in the future. Thank you so much.